Hello everybody, it's time for the Missionary Minute. I'm kind of excited about what I have to share with you today. I was really thinking a little bit about y'all. Well, first of all, everybody knows how much I love Christmas. So it won't surprise you that I was kind of thinking a little bit about in the Gospels, in Luke chapter 1, what we typically call the Christmas story. And it says that the angel came and let me look and see if I can pull that up real quick. Let's see, Luke chapter 1, and my app's going to have to update. So Luke chapter 1, but the angel comes and he tells Mary that she's gonna become pregnant, and that she's gonna have the Son of God, and that she should name him Jesus. But in verse 38, it says something very that just stuck with me. In verse 38, after some miraculous epiphany, miraculous act of submission, Mary tells the angel, be it unto me according to God's will. And then in verse 38, the last thing that it says there is that that the angel departed, that the angel left her. And yes, we are talking about the Missionary Minute. When the Lord comes and drops a vision in your heart, or maybe you even have some sort of a prophetic word or a divine encounter, or maybe God just shows you in his word what and speaks a rhema word to your heart as you're reading the word of God. Oftentimes it happens that way. After that moment when you realize that you're called, after that moment when you realize that God's got a huge plan for your life, something happens that we don't always want to think about, because after the angel delivered that amazing news to Mary, it says that she received that, she accepted it. Oftentimes when we accept the call, when we receive the call, and we say and we submit our will to the will of God, do you know that your call is not dependent on someone else's will for your life? Your call is not dependent on what somebody else thinks you're called to do, what somebody else thinks that you should do with your life, or even the timing of it. You have to find that out before God, because in that last day, you're going to stand before God and give an account of everything that you were supposed to do, everything that he spoke to your heart to do, and how you did it. Either he's going to say, well done, or why didn't you do what I called you to do? And you're not going to be able to say, oh, but so-and-so. Oh, but my husband wouldn't let me. Oh, but my wife wouldn't let me. Oh, but I have children. Oh, how many times have we ever heard the excuse of children? I can serve God once my children are grown. After the angel left Mary, you're going to go through a couple of steps. First of all is excitement. All of the imagining of how wonderful it's going to be. I imagine that Mary started thinking about how fantastic it was going to be to hold a little baby in her arms, and what would it be like? He's going to be the Son of God. And I can just imagine how she must have felt, what she must have thought, as we begin to imagine what our call is going to look like, as we begin to imagine what it's going to be like to serve God, whether it's in full-time ministry in the States or even on the mission field. We begin to think about all of the things that, and we imagine what it's going to be like. And that initial excitement then eventually kind of gives way to reality. and it gives way to what it looks like in the natural, what our eyes can see in the natural, because so often you're not gonna have everything perfect as you step this out, and you're not going to have everything all like you think it's going to be. So things were not probably like what Mary thought it was going to be like. I imagine that she had so many thoughts running through her mind. And as you step out into ministry, as you embark on anything that God speaks to your heart to do, it doesn't even have to be full-time ministry. It can just be something that God puts on your heart to do, even serving in your local church. Then after you receive that, after you gladly received the news, like Mary gladly received the news, and the angel departed, she was left with the call, with the vision, with the plan. And that's what happens so often with us. It feels like the angel leaves. The angel comes back multiple times to explain different things to Joseph. He appears to the shepherds. He, several other times. But it never says that he ever appeared to Mary again. Now, that doesn't mean that the presence of the Lord was not with her. It doesn't mean maybe that her guardian angel, so to speak, was not looking out for her. But oftentimes we're left to have to walk things out by ourselves. We're left to walk things out on a day-to-day basis. So you're going to be left to walk things out. Things were not like she thought. Joseph even thought about putting her away. And there's going to be people who cannot feel like they can't come in line with your vision, with your call, with what you want to do. They just don't get it. But that's okay. Even with Nehemiah, we've talked about Nehemiah before. And even with Nehemiah, there were people who just didn't get it. But you're going to have to walk out your call even after the angel leaves. Your call isn't dependent on anyone else. It's not even dependent on divine angelic appearances, or, many times we want to put out what Christians call fleeces. We put out a fleece before the Lord, and we say, oh Lord, if this is you, make so and so happen. My cousin Joanne and I used to always joke when it was because before I moved to the mission field, my cousin and I, Joanne, I hope you see this video, we would just she was my co-conspirator in all things crazy for Jesus. We went downtown Houston, witnessed to the prostitutes and the pimps and the druggies shooting up in their legs in the alleys, and we would go and preach to them. We went to nursing homes. One time the Lord spoke to us to go to Jamaica. We didn't know anyone. We didn't take a frills trip. She found a little hotel for us to stay in, and we went to Jamaica. We prayed all morning long in our hotel room and fasted, and then and tried to get the mind of the Lord on what He wanted us to do. And then we would just hit the streets and go out witnessing every day. We didn't know a soul in Jamaica. And so, she was just my co-conspirator, but we would get into some crazy situations. And, it didn't always turn out the way you think. There were times that when we were downtown Houston, people were shooting. We would have to hide behind cars. God would always send someone to protect us. He would always send, it's funny, one drunk would protect us from another drunk, another alcoholic. Somebody would start being belligerent, and another guy would stand up and say, hey, don't hassle these women. They're talking about Jesus or something, And so you just have to realize that not everybody's gonna be able to identify with your call. If you find someone that can identify with your call and that can walk side by side with you, oh, do it, because that's a special thing. I thank God every day for Larry that we have like precious vision, like precious hearts, and we share the call together. We serve God side by side. You know, it's not the ministry over here is his and the ministry over there is mine. We do things together. And so I just want to encourage you, when reality sets in and the excitement wanes and things start turning out a little bit different than maybe you thought they were going to be while the angel was talking. You know, when we have the goosebumps and when the music, our favorite worship song is playing, and when, you know, we're feeling the presence of the Lord. That's easy to be excited about what he's called us to do. But when you leave that presence of the Lord, you know, when the angel left her and she was left with the reality of it, Joseph talking about putting her away and all the different things. Can you imagine what her parents thought? I don't know. And just how people talk back then, they would stone you if you were caught in adultery. And so to be pregnant and not be married, it had to be a very unsettling time. And she had to go back and rehearse those words, I'm sure, many times from the angel. And go back and rehearse what she knew God had spoken to her heart. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. What will you do with your call? What will you do with that vision that God's put in your heart, with the desire that God's put in your heart when the angel leaves? And when you're left with reality, what will you do with your call? If you'll stick with it and if you'll walk it out, then the excitement that turns into reality will turn into rewards. And you'll begin to have a joy that the world can't understand. You know, when you're doing what God calls you to do, it fulfills something inside of you that nothing else can. So I just want to encourage you, even when the angel leaves, you keep your faith strong. You rehearse the words that he spoke to your heart. You keep the vision strong. Don't be dependent on any man. Don't be dependent on any person. You walk out your call. Love you guys. Have a good day. Have a good week. Make it count for Jesus.